Hello, this is my second reading out of the Illustration Bible Stories for Children. And I'm going to be reading in the beautiful garden. Now you might be hearing some background noise, and that I'm going to show you real quickly is my boo-boo. He snores. And I have another snorer over here. Her name is Wiggles. And that's Sadie Lou. And we talked about weather and the sky and the trees. Well, today I'm having freezing rain and sleet, and we're supposed to get snow. Oh my. I do like to play in the snow. Not in the freezing rain, though. It's very hard on the animals that God made. Okay. In the beautiful garden. The garden where Adam and Eve lived was indeed very beautiful. There were beautiful flowers, and they smelt so wonderful. And the trees, they grew, and there was all kinds of beautiful leaves and blooms and delicious fruit. All the fruit you could imagine. And there were grapes. Oh, it was beautiful. Adam and Eve walked barefoot. They didn't even wear shoes. They walked over the grass, and they enjoyed the sweet smell of all of the flowers and trees. There was nothing to hurt them in the garden. They were never cross, nor did they ever quarrel, meaning they always got along. Neither did they get sick or get cold or too hot. Around them, the animals romped and played, and the birds all sang together. Every creature was always happy. There were no harmful plants to make them sick. There was no ferocious beasts or biting insects. In the garden that God planted, He also planted the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Rivers ran through this garden, 3 of them. Gold and precious stones were to be found there too. In the evenings, the Lord, God Himself, came to talk with Adam and his wife. You may eat the fruit from any tree in the garden, except for one, Adam and Eve. That one is called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You must not eat the fruit of that tree, for, as God said, on the day you eat the fruit of that tree, you will surely die. Die? Everything in the Garden of Eden lived. There was nothing rotten or diseased, and every creature enjoyed a full, healthy, and happy life. There was no pain. But if Adam should take the fruit of that tree, it would not be like that ever again. And from that very day, he ate it, and trouble and death would come to the world. So he didn't want to eat it. He was afraid. So Adam and Eve enjoyed the garden, and they looked after it, and they cared for all the animals. At that time, there was one creature God had made who was especially cunning and very clever. It was a snake. He came to Eve, and he talked to her. He said, I want to talk to you about the trees in the garden. And then he was sneaky, and he says, Did God say that you could eat from every tree in the garden? Oh, yes, said Eve. We may eat from every tree except that tree in the center of the garden here. That's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We may not eat fruit from that one. God said if we do, we will die." "Oh, no," said the serpent. "You will not die. How can that be? God will not let you eat a fruit of that tree. It's because God knows that fruit would bring you understanding. It would make you wise, like God Himself. And you would know all about the good and the evil. God is just trying to keep you from that." Eve believed the snake, and she looked at the tree. It didn't look bad. It looked good and beautiful. She thought she would really love to have some of that fruit. The more she looked, the more she wanted it. Oh, how beautiful it was. Besides, she thought she would become smart and be understanding and be knowledgeable like God. "Go on," said the snake. "Try it." Should she? Why not? Trembling, she reached out and she took the fruit and she ate it. She gave some to her husband, Adam, also. He did just what God had told them both not to do. At once they felt different. They were ashamed of themselves, and so they made clothes out of leaves and bark. That evening they heard a sound. It was God. He was walking in the garden. They tried to hide. They didn't want Him to see them. "Where are you, Adam?" said the Lord. Adam answered, I heard you coming, and I hid myself among the trees. I was afraid. I heard you coming. I'm afraid. I was naked, and now I'm ashamed." Then God demanded, "Why do you feel that way? What have you done? Have you eaten from the tree I told you not to touch?" Adam felt so guilty that he had been found out. He knew that he had done something wrong, and he disobeyed the Lord's word and His commandment. He tried to make an excuse, and he said, "Eve gave it to me and made me eat it, and it was the woman you gave to be with me. She gave me the fruit. She gave me the fruit of the tree, and I took it. I ate it. Like I said earlier, I ate it, and I didn't know." Adam was blaming Eve. And he also blamed God. He said, "You gave her to me, and she is to blame for all of this. She is the one who did it." The Lord turned to Eve. "What have you done?" She also had an excuse. "It was the snake. He deceived me," she said. Then God spoke to the snake. "You shall no longer be wise and bright and attractive. You will be changed and have to squirm on your belly. You have been used by Satan to bring about the downfall of man I have made. You and yours will be enemies of my people, but in the end, you will be crushed and defeated." Then God spoke to Eve, "When you have a baby, it will be painful for you now, and your husband will be the master of the house." To Adam, God said, "Because you listened to your wife and disobeyed my command, you will have to work hard to get your own food now. It will not grow without you working the ground. There will be thorns, there will be thistles to come, and many troubles that you have never known before. After all your work, you will die, and you will go back to the ground from which you came. The Lord made coats of animal skins for Adam and his wife to cover themselves. Then he drove them out of the beautiful Garden of Eden. They could never return. They have now become like us. All of us. We have to work. Our parents have to work in order to give us clothes and food and a house to live in. And before they ate the fruit, all of that was given to them. He drove them out, so Adam had to dig into the ground of the earth to make food. They never could return to the garden again. At the east of the Garden of Eden, the Lord God placed cherubim and a flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life, so that Adam and Eve could never reach the fruit from that tree. Thank you for listening. That was book chapter 2.